Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I am recording a how to save money in college or university. Now, as a recent graduate from college, I actually made the decision to live away for school. So I definitely had to budget down and, figure out my finances before going away. And I am so glad I did so, because with that being said, I came out with no weight on my shoulders, and that weight being debt. Now, everyone's situation is going to be unique to them and their lifestyle, and when they started working, how much money they put away for themselves. And I won't go into too much detail with that in this video, but I will say I'm very, very blessed that, my parents did help me out financially with school a little bit, and I kind of covered the rest. So with both parties, helping fund that, I was able to budget week to week how much I could spend on, fun activities. And then, I had an account for my savings. Now, I started working at a very young age. I started with a part-time job babysitting, and then that grew into working at a retail store. And then I got certified to be a lifeguard. And then my summers, I would say, I think it's junior year, is that grade 11? That summer I started working full time. So I was making sure I was hitting 40 hours every single week. And that's pretty much it. I would put away half from every single paycheck since I was 14 years old, whether that was $10 from babysitting or $100. My brother actually gave me that tip when I was young, and he, instilled it, and I'm so, so glad he did, because I would not be where I am financially now without his words of wisdom. So a little preface before heading on into the tips of this video. I just want to say that, like I mentioned a little earlier, that everyone's situation is going to be unique to themselves. So I did have a savings account, which is specifically for, was for school, tuition and paying for rent where I was living and food, etc. And then at this point in my life now, it's for, vacations, a car, a house one day, big, investments like that. Now, my checking account, I say, is like my play money. So, when I buy makeup or gym clothes or new decor for my room, birthday gifts for people, things like that, I pull out of that account. And then my other regular expenses, so like my phone bill, my Adobe Creative Cloud program monthly fee that I pay for like Premiere and Photoshop, Lightroom, that all kind of comes in a package. I pull out of that same checking account fund money. So let's get on started with these tips. So I firsthand know what it feels like to have to be on a budget and not be spending top dollar when you're out at school, but it doesn't mean you aren't allowed to be able to go out with your friends and go for dinners and such. You just have to create a budget. So let's start with the first point. We're gonna start with what I call discount days. Now, discount days can start from grocery stores to movie theaters to monthly memberships for certain apps that you have. So let's start with the grocery store. A lot of grocery stores in university or college towns will have a student discount day. So on Tuesdays, the grocery store that I had went to on my bus route home from school on the way back to my apartment in London, Ontario, had a Food Basics, which is a very affordable grocery store to say the least. Now, because it was 10% off every Tuesdays, not everyone's schedule is going to be flexible like that. They could have class late night on Tuesday or throughout the entire day and not be able to get there, but I always was able to make it an option to go on the Tuesday. So even if I didn't have class the random Tuesday, I would still bus to school to use the gym facility, and then on my way home, I would stop at the grocery store and get my groceries. So even though it's 10%, you're saving 10% 4 weeks, because I did grocery shopping every week, once a week. So 4 weeks in a month, and then times that by the amount of time you're living out there for school. And you do save, a decent amount. That could be your phone bill or such. So just taking into consideration little things like that do add up. A little side note, I would always pack reusable grocery bags as well, because the plastic ones obviously just aren't good for the environment, and they break and you just go through them so quickly. They're like thin and they don't really hold much. Reusable bags are so much better for the environment. They're a little bit stronger and sturdier, durable. You can get waterproof ones with zippers, some with like insulation if you're carrying cold stuff home from the grocery store. So I just made it a point to set a reminder on my reminder app to pack grocery bags every Monday night. The movie theater near my house was also more discounted than what the Cineplex movie theaters would usually be. So I had a movie theater called Imagine Cinemas. Now, you could see a movie there for so cheap. It was ridiculous. And on top of that, at school on Mondays, they would have like maybe 20 or 30 like movie tickets for students to be able to purchase at an even more discounted rate. So I think I could get a ticket for $4, which is insane, and they had a limit of how many you could get per student. So I think it was like 2 to 4. I can't quite remember. I think it started at 4, and then my second year they dropped it to 2 tickets per person. So I would go every Monday or every other Monday depending, and I rack up a few because you're saving money. It was right across the street from my apartment, so it was so convenient. So when I had my boyfriend come up to visit, or a friend, or my sister, it was just so cheap, and it was just like a nice outing to be able to do. So keep a lookout for those discount days. On top of that, I just want to touch on monthly subscriptions. So something like Spotify and Apple Music have like a student rate, so it's $4.99 or $5 a month, and that was awesome to be signed up and a part of. So take advantage of that if you're huge into music, because they have that option for students. The next point I have is to buy used textbooks on Facebook. Now, I'm gonna quickly touch on my experience here. When I was back at university, which if you haven't kept up, yes, I went to university and then I dropped out and went to college. In university, you tend to be buying a lot more textbooks. And in college, I was buying a lot more equipment because it was a lot more hands-on, less textbooks were needed. Now, with those textbooks, I made sure that I went on the Facebook group for that specific university, and I used the search engine tool to be able to locate some of the books that I needed, but for a cheaper price. Now, I wasn't in university that long, so I can't even say I saved that much money on that, but when I did transition to college, there was one textbook we needed, and my first year of that textbook, somebody in our class actually found it online for free, so that was awesome. The second year, I needed a different film textbook, and that one was about $120, and I purchased it on Amazon used for $22. It was in awesome condition. There may have been a little bit of pencil markings or highlighting, but that's totally fine. I didn't care. I just needed it for the semester, and I was saving $100. So why wouldn't I be purchasing it on Amazon? I added it to my cart, and it ended up at my door a week later. When you have friends or mutual friends or friends of friends, you also can get things at a discounted rate. So it's really great to just make sure you maintain connections and network with people, and people help you out. The next point hones down to if you're living in a residence. Now, in residence, especially your first year, they put on a lot of events and activities, and there's lots of food, and there's always something going on. I felt like every other day I walked into the lobby and into the elevator, there was something going on. Now, with that being said, sometimes they'd have buffets or free food type situations. Honestly, what I would do is I would take a to-go container or a few of them, go down, stock up, put them in my fridge for the week because I had a mini fridge in my residence room, and I basically just meal prepped for the week. Now, you may not think anything of it, but having your money on your meal plan card, imagine those 5 days you don't have to pay to swipe and use up that money because you've now meal prepped for 5 days. So a lot of this is just thinking ahead and kind of finagling the system when you can and kind of get away with it. The next point, some of you may laugh because I feel like this is a necessity for some girls and some guys too, but it's to stay away from getting a beverage from Starbucks or any kind of big chain that, puts the price up on their beverages every single day. I knew so many people that would grab a Starbucks before class or grab a Starbucks after class on the way to their next class, and sometimes that's okay to do, obviously, but say you're buying what's an average beverage at Starbucks. Let's say it's not a coffee or tea, let's say it's a latte or a seasonal latte or a cappuccino. That's probably around $4 or $5. Times that by 4 or 5 days of that week, depending how many days you have classes, if they're in the morning and you're getting that in the morning, and then times that by the amount of weeks that are a month. That's a lot of money spent just on Starbucks. So what I would recommend is, this is even cheaper, getting a bag of beans from Starbucks if you're a coffee drinker, or get a box of tea bags and make it at home and put it in a travel mug and bring it to school. I think it equals out to the math of 10 cents a cup or something, and you're using a reusable mug instead of using their paper or plastic cups at Starbucks. So you're saving the environment and you're saving yourself some money. 20 cents is nothing when you look at it for a coffee, as opposed to $4 for a Starbucks drink. Make your coffee at home, kids. The next point, I feel like not a lot of people would have thought to do, but around the Halloween season, there's a week leading up to Halloween, and we used to call it Halloweek, and there would be a lot of parties and events that you dress up for. Now, a lot of us girls didn't like to wear the exact same outfit to each party, so to be able to borrow from a friend, a roommate, a sibling is key, because you're saving yourself so much money when you're having to buy multiple costumes. On top of that, you should check out stores that aren't Party City or the Halloween costume store, because they're gonna jack up the prices because they know like you're gonna need the costume either way, so they're gonna get you to buy it. There was a small lingerie store in London where I had went to school, and I popped in to get a pair of tights, like fishnets with like rhinestones. Like I wanted something more bedazzling, and I knew the lingerie store would have it for a costume. And when I went in, they had a whole wall of like female costumes that I saw exact duplicates at the costume store for like double or triple the price. So when you can buy, say, a sailor outfit for $25 at the lingerie store as opposed to $70, of course you're gonna wanna do that. So again, some of this took a little bit of digging and searching and experiencing for my own self, but that's just a tip I have for you that I feel like would save a lot of girls out there on Halloween. My next tip is, I feel like it's gonna be a little bit subjective. If you don't need to take a vehicle, and by that I mean like a car, away to school, I highly recommend you don't. Now I know that some people's means of transportation home, if they have to work on the weekends, or they just don't have a public transportation route available by train or subway or bus, then they kind of need that car. But I did know a few people that had cars, and they were a little bit stressed with money, in the sense that they're having to worry about filling up their gas tank for the week and maybe paying insurance or half of their insurance, depending, you know, if their parents are helping them out with the bill, etc. And I feel like that was such a stress for students. And I want to say where I live especially, it's not super common to have your car with you away at school. So if you can get away without doing so, I do recommend doing that. I never had a car away at school. The only time I did was when my sister came up to visit me one weekend. So we had it like for the weekend. So it was easy when I wanted to get, you know, something heavier from the grocery store that I wouldn't be able to haul on the bus all by myself. So like a box of almond milk or something like that was super beneficial having the car up, you know, for the weekend. But I wouldn't take it away and commit to having it there for, you know, the duration of school. And then on top of that, if you're living in an apartment, you might have to pay for a parking spot or at the condo or apartment, right? So I also live downtown London, so you didn't have a spot where I was. There's a lot of public parking that you have to pay for. So it's just a lot of stress that's not needed. My next point is if you are planning to visit your friends at their schools, I know a lot of them have homecomings around the same time. I recommend seeing if there's like a rideshare program on Facebook. I know that from London to Waterloo and like London to Hamilton, there is like a fine route with the Via Rail or the GO train, but somewhere where like Queens, which is in Kingston, which is hours away, is a little bit more difficult to get to, and it's more expensive. So I know that one of my friends that came up my first year in college, she came up to visit, and she actually got on the rideshare program with one of the girls that went to her school, and it was actually one of her classes. And she said, hey, I'm renting a car for the weekend. I believe this is how it went. If you can just pitch for gas, this is where we're gonna meet on campus, and we'll drive up at this time and we'll come back on Sunday at this time. It worked out so well. She said she paid a significant amount less than what she would have if she took public transportation. She got there a little bit sooner than what she would have if she, you know, took public transportation, and she could just rely on that one person in the car as opposed to, you know, a whole city transit line. Now the next point is kind of just self-explanatory, but just set yourself up with a weekly budget and a monthly budget. Obviously there'll be, you know, months that are a little more expensive. Like if you're in a relationship, you know, Christmas, you're gonna have to buy gifts, or Valentine's Day, or Black Friday week, or Boxing Day week, stuff like that. You know you're gonna be spending a little bit more. So you wanna make sure that you plan accordingly. Now I knew with my budget, how much I could spend per week, kind of like on food, on drinks, on Ubers, and it's so awesome that Uber has things like Uber Pool now, so you can just automatically split, you know, the ride with the people and the passengers in the car. So that makes it a lot easier and more cost efficient for everybody. Now, piggybacking off of that last point, if you know you're having a costly weekend coming up, try to save for it. So try not to go out, you know, to dinner 3 times that week, or a few movies, or a bunch of parties that are kind of far out of town and you know you have to pay a extra expensive Uber. Save that money for that weekend. You don't want to be that person when you have your friend up being like, hey, we have to stay in because like I have no money to spend. You know, I'm not very good with my money, and this is how it's turned out, so we're just gonna have to stay in. You want to show them the town, show them the school, like meet with your friends at the bar, at the restaurant. So to be a little bit less stressed with that situation, just cut back on the spending weeks leading up to that weekend that you have. A personal example from my experience is when my boyfriend came up, I would obviously want to go out to dinner with him at least once, maybe go to the movies and like to a party or to a bar or a pregame and then a bar, so you know there's the Ubers there, so it all adds up. The next point is to buy used furniture on Facebook Marketplace. Now I'm going to tell you a little secret here. The good time to find discounted furniture or even free furniture, you heard that right, free furniture, is when international students are going home and they're not coming back. So maybe it's like their 4th year of university or college and they live across the world. Then they just need to get it out of their apartment or out of their house and like out. So sometimes they'll put it at a really discounted rate, or they'll just literally give it to you for free because they're trying to get rid of it. So look at like the end of the semester, or you know, creeping up towards the end of the year. I'm sure you will find some great gems on Facebook Marketplace. I know a lot of us females like to decorate our place really cute, so do not spend top dollar on your furniture, because if you do have parties and people over, people, you know, are careless when they drink, they don't care, they're not like fully conscious of their decisions and what they're doing, so you'll get things that get ruined and damaged like that. And who wants to have the conversation with a friend of like, so like, are you gonna like pay for it, or like, am I, are we gonna like halvesies it, like what's going on? You don't want to get things that you're super attached to. So Facebook Marketplace. Facebook should just freaking sponsor me for this video at this point. Now piggybacking off that last point, when you throw, or if you throw any like Halloween or Christmas parties or birthday parties in that sense, buy your decorations from the dollar store or even the Dollar Tree. I know my roommate back in like first year of my first year living in an apartment, we threw a little Halloween like pre, and then we went out after, and we wanted to get some decorations, and we spent I think $30 between the two of us, so it was like 15 bucks each we had to spend on all these decorations, which like I think looked pretty good now looking back at it. You know, students on a budget, you don't want to go to Walmart maybe per se. It'll still be inexpensive, but it'll be a little bit more, or you know, the party store, because it's gonna be significantly more, especially like balloons with like helium in it and stuff like that. Dollar store is your best friend. I already kind of touched on this point, but just to have 2 separate accounts for spending is very helpful and useful. You know, having the savings like an untouchable thing, like you should not be reaching your hands in there. That's kind of like an off limits one, and then your checking one being your kind of fun money or going out money is what I would like to call it when I was at school. The next point, it's kind of hard to summarize. Sometimes there's a fee when you are entering like a frat party, and it's basically to pay for the booze you're gonna drink at the party that they're providing. So sometimes you'll pre at like your friend's house beforehand. I would suggest not to pre as heavily, and not bring as much of your own booze, because that's money you've spent on your own booze, and drink some of the stuff there. So kind of balance it out so you're not drinking as many of your cans of coolers or wine bottles. Wow, I'm making it sound like we're alcoholics in university. But just something to make note of, if you're spending that $10 fee to get in and like drink some of their stuff, then like make use of that. Don't drink all of your stuff beforehand. The next point seems very odd, but I'm just gonna say, stay away from the malls. Now, it was tricky for me because first year when I had dropped out and already knew I was gonna drop out, I went shopping a few times for like random reasons, you know, I just want to spend money, and that's so silly looking back at it now. In my apartment that I had just recently lived in at school, we had the bus literally stop right in front of our apartment and take you on a direct line right to the mall in our town. So that was really convenient, but I didn't use it as much as I thought I would, which is probably a good thing. And I'd only go if I, you know, had to get like a Christmas gift or a birthday gift. So just try to stay away from the mall. Don't go out with your friends as just like a fun outing. Get a coffee. Honestly, getting a coffee or a tea is probably the cheapest thing. Like back to the Starbucks point, you don't have to get a $4 beverage. Get like a grande tea, and it's like what, $2 maybe $3, or just a coffee. It's probably the cheapest thing you can do that's still social, but you're still going out and enjoying the environment and the atmosphere around you. The next point is to sell your used goods that you don't use anymore. Now there are multiple apps at this day and age that you can do that now. Poshmark, and there's another one, I think it starts with a D, I'll put it up on the screen if I remember, but I know Facebook Marketplace was my main spot for selling stuff. I think I've sold like anywhere from like 6 to 10 pairs of shoes on there, and then some old Gymshark workout clothes that I wasn't super into and didn't really wear as much anymore. I sold a lot of the stuff on there, and maybe I didn't get the exact dollar value I wanted, but it was still some, you know, stuff I was purging, getting rid of, so I could bring other stuff in. So I was trying to be smart about it in that sense. And my last and final point is take advantage to work when you can. Now, I'm not saying work like a dog. I mean, unless you absolutely have to. Like I said, we're all in different situations when it comes to, you know, living away and paying for things at school. But I had 2 jobs, one with the city, as long as I stayed current, so all my qualifications and certifications were up to date, and I took the training every season, so one in fall, one in winter, one in spring, one in summer. I was able to pick up shifts that I could. And then I had a serving job before I had went away to school, and you know, I wouldn't come back on the weekends to work those just because it was a long duration home just to pick up a shift. But say you're coming home for the Christmas holiday, there may be some hours there. Like, it depends on the relationship you built with your boss and what they have available, because obviously there's other staff that they need to give hours to as well. But typically in a restaurant, you know, business, there's bigger parties coming in, celebrating, you know, holiday stuff. So there's just bigger parties, they might need more hands on deck. It was great for me to be able to pick up hours for the month of December when I was home last year, and then also being able to pick up the shifts with the city as a lifeguard and swim instructor when someone was sick or they just needed an extra guard here and there. It was a great way to make fast cash, and you know, it just covered me for more like play money. I had some more booze money, I had some more gift giving money, stuff like that. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was informative and you guys took away some of the tips for it. Like I said, this is my experience, what personally worked for me, and this helped me come out of school with no stress, no debt. If you guys have any tips down below for maybe other, you know, students that are in this situation, please drop them. I'm sure someone would love to have some tips on, you know, saving some moolah. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for my channel, the notification bell to be notified anytime I upload a brand new video, and hit the thumbs up button so I know that you guys enjoyed the content for this segment. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.